I put money in all your pockets, even when you was well out of order. And he did. Yes, he did. Harold Shand did. This is the first Brit crime movie that I can think of, and people can tell me if I've missed one, that dealt with organised crime in London, in this case, organised crime as a business. Harold Shand controls London because he controls the different parts of London. He's brought people together. There's been peace for 10 years. And what he's doing now is bringing in the Americans, the mafia ostensibly, to make an even bigger opportunity for so many. As Maltese Tony says to him later on, well, you know, I'd like a bit of that. Well, I've got to make sure I get the right men. This, of course, is 1981's The Long Good Friday. And it's an overlooked movie. And what people seem to think is, or seem to remember, and I don't blame them at all, is I put money in all your pockets. And all of the killing and his taut central performance. It's Bob Hoskins as Harold Shand. And the juxtaposition, perhaps, of his very intelligent but very pushy and seeing the long picture, power behind the throne, Harriet, played by Helen Mirren, with a real a pragmatic feel. She's the one that you feel could be involved in polite society. You don't feel that Mr. Shand could. As she says, these plates and she had 20 quid each. Harold broke 2 of them, showing me how exquisitely delicate they were. Yeah, see, that's what he's interested in. It didn't make its money back. It made about half its money back, which is a real shame, but it's got other things to say. The plot basically starts when the Americans are over, and there's 2 of them. There's the big boss, or the underboss maybe, and a solicitor, one of their solicitors. And Harold wants to make a very good impression. Of course he does. He wants to seal this deal. And he wants to seal the deal immediately. That's what he's like. He's pugnacious. He's rocket-headed. He wants to do that. But his American counterpart says, give me time. Unfortunately, that allows some other things to happen. So there's a car bomb, ostensibly, which ignites, ostensibly to kill his mother, who's rushed to hospital. One of his closest friends, played by Paul Freeman, doesn't have much, I don't think he has any lines actually, who is desperate for a certain kind of relationship in what would be, in 1981, a very difficult world. And I'm talking about homosexual sex, really. That's what he's looking for. That's why he's in a certain municipal swimming bath. That's why Pierce Brosnan is able to, yes, in his first film role, is able to stab him. So Harold's closest friend, the one he came up with, is killed. They're moving towards, or they're travelling towards, I bought this whole boozer because it's going to get, they were ruining it, and this is real London, you're going to love it. As they arrive, it explodes. That is the memory I have of this film, and I saw it when I was a kid. And he goes searching for who that could be. And while Harriet is talking to the Americans and whining and dining them and making them happy, even though they already know what's going on, really, you'd be foolish not to, they try and pass off the pub explosion as a natural gas explosion. Yeah. So while she's doing that, he's trying desperately to find out who that is. There's a very memorable scene which the "I put money in all your pockets" speech comes from, where the different areas of London, the gang leaders, who are of course underbosses really for Harold Shand, are hanging up on meat hooks at an abattoir. It's beautifully done. But as his police informant, played by Dave King, who I've never really liked everybody liked his work, but he's got a world-weary quality which brooks no kind of morality around. Maybe I shouldn't be in bed with gangsters here. He tells him, this is not any of this lot that you've got hung up. It's the IRA. And his mate, Jeff, who's of a different stripe, who's keen to make his own way, played by Derek Thompson, who you'll know from Casualty, very young here, dresses differently, has a suede suit, it's not shiny, has different, wears a cloth cap, that kind of thing, dresses differently, is young and thrusting, but actually has got himself involved, well, wants to get himself involved with Harriet, and says to her, I'd like to lick every inch of you. At that point, they reach the penthouse floor, and she says, Saved by the Bell, because she might well have weakened. He is ostensibly a good-looking boy. However, he's been involved in some shenanigans with Paul Freeman's character and the IRA. And it's ended with a problem. It's ended with money going short for the IRA, and it's ended with 3 of their finest men killed. And that ostensibly is why they're targeting Harold Shand, because his name's been given up. And very quickly, Jeff will rue the day that he told Harold Shand that. So this is about relationships. It's about business. It's about collecting money for the IRA. This is 1981. It was made in 79, not released till 81. And it has a sort of quite washed out look. It has that sort of, the Stud and the Bitch, trying to look like decadent France, but really, you're in Wandsworth. That sort of more grimy look, but it has a real 1980s Big Phone and Canary Wharf aspiration to it. Certainly in the well-dressed but pugnacious Bob Hoskins, whose performance here, lest we forget, his performance was great, lest we forget that he came from the theatre, he came from agitprop theatre, and there is a scene at the end of this film in which he's just recounting how he's been completely and utterly outthought and outmaneuvered, and soon won't be the boss anymore. And we see him thinking, without any words, he's in the back of a cab. And quite a lot of it is to do with his anger with, I've never seen anybody bring and drag out so many emotions from gritting teeth before. It is beautiful, and his performance is beautiful, and he plays to type, but he has a real feeling, you have the real feeling, that he's not really completely in control of this. And that's one of the reasons why the IRA can confound him like this. Because they don't care about who's on top. They don't care about London. And as Jeff said, let's work with them. Making deals. It's about making deals. It's about killing, yes, but making deals and making money. And it is about Thatcher's Britain. And this was made in 79, but it came out in 81. And that is, it chimes more with Thatcher's Britain than 1979 ever could. It has a bit of a kitchen sink feel to it. It has a bit of a TV miniseries feel to it. I watched the 2 films of the Sweeney and they have the same thing. And not just because the Sweeney came from TV, has that feeling to it. And I love this. It's taut, it's lean, it's scripted by Barry O'Keefe, who was a well-known and quite political playwright. Nottingham lad, wasn't he? I think. There was a sequel, Mooted, which was going to take place 20 years later, and Harold was going to try and win his city back from Yardie gangs. That didn't happen, thank goodness. But this is not the film you think it is. It's not a gangster movie. It's a mercantile movie. It's about money. It's about relationships. It's about business. And it's about those who can do business. and those who really can't. Seek it out. So many people don't, and I don't think anybody who ever watched it would think it was a waste of time. Ta-ta.